Hello and welcome to the Bee Formless Flow-Driven CEO podcast. I have all the way from Boston in the USA, Mary McNiff. Welcome to the show, Mary.
Thank you so much, Bee. I'm so excited to be here, and it's
Yeah,
great to
me.
be meeting halfway across the world.
I know, very cool, right? And you're right. I should have asked you, like, is it very cold in Boston at the moment? Have you had much snow or anything like that? Hmm.
It's freezing here. It's so windy today, so really like cold with the wind chills. And we've had a little bit of snow, but most of the snow is north of us in New England. So Boston, we've been pretty lucky. No snow yet, but
Yeah.
I feel it's coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Because we're in summer, so it's quite warm here today. So yeah, it's always funny like talking to somebody on the other side of the world, and also that you're in the past and I'm in the future right now, but here we are in the present. It's Thursday for you, Friday morning for me. So there you go. But I'm very excited to talk to you today actually because I've had, like I said to you pre-show, I've had a few conversations on the show with regards to working in senior care and authority in senior care, or the elder space, I should say. And, I was reading some stats the other day, and you'd know more about this than me, but the stats are quite astounding in terms of an aging population. And, like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was just fascinating. I wish I could remember the exact stat, but I was blown away by, like, in however many years, how old the population will be. And so there's this real need for doing
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Exactly. I mean, like if you look at, something like over 10,000 people a day turn 65 and, that whole boomer population at the rate of aging where I think we've just about hit that pinnacle where people are turning 65 and then it might like decrease again. But 2030 has been this year in the
Yes.
future that everyone says, oh, by 2030, this is going to be the way of the world. And I'm like, well, you know what? 2026 is in 2 weeks. So 2030 is now, 4 years away, not 5 years away, not 6 years away. So this is coming, whether we want to admit it or not. But our population is really going to be in a whole different place. And the largest part of our population will be over 65. It's
Yeah,
it's just
wow.
astounding.
It is. And so your background, from what you explained to me, is your background was in financial services and tech, and you also had a real focus in leadership in around empathy, in putting empathy into strategy, operations, and customer experience when you were in fin services and tech to get those clearer results and that compound. But you've since then moved into the elder care space and you're now running your own through a franchise, but you've got your own company of 18 months in. Tell us a little bit about your journey. But before I turn it over to you, you did also say when you booked in for the pod, when I asked you what was one unique insight or lived experience in life, leadership, and or business, you said the role empathy plays in business and how it leads you to where you need to be. So something clearly led you to where you are now, which got me really intrigued. So I'll hand it over to you.
Awesome. Well,
Excuse
thank
me.
you. And I appreciate this question and this focus on empathy because I think a lot of people will talk about being empathetic leaders, but what does that really mean to be an empathetic leader? So, my journey, as you noted, I was in financial services and technology. I did that for close to 30 years, which is crazy to think
Mhm.
that I was in something that long. And it's not necessarily a space that's known for being an empathetic space. It's known for being really high energy,
I was
cutthroat,
about to say
very
cutthroat.
intense. Yeah, and we're dealing with, investment managers and wealth managers because we sold software to folks in that arena. So this was, just a constant battle. You're talking to people on Wall Street, you're talking to people in London, all over the globe who are trying to make money and figure out how to make money for their clients. And so there's a lot of intensity to it. But behind the scenes, when you're trying to deliver product and you are trying to figure out how do you motivate people, how do you inspire people to build the products that are going to run the money of the world, you have to remember that they're people first.
Mm.
And if you don't remember that they're people first and employees second and engineers or QA analysts or product managers, whatever their title was, like as the third part of who they are, then you are never going to be able to inspire them. You're never going to be able to build trust. and you're never going to get the best out of that individual. And so for me, knowing that people have lives that affect them
Mm.
and that affect how they show up every day is what's really important. Because if someone's having a bad day, I don't want to judge someone's performance because, hey, something's going on at home. Maybe their spouse
Yeah,
is
so
sick,
true.
or maybe their mom is sick, right? And so if you can't recognize that not every day is going to be 100% for your staff, then you can't support them in the right way. And then when you try to ask them for that hard thing, they're not going to want to deliver that.
No.
And so having that empathy and showing, not just sympathy, but empathy. Like I've been through a lot of things, and this leads to sort of my journey, but I've lived some experiences where I could appreciate what it's like to have to go to work on a day you don't want to because you'd rather be home taking care of something in your personal life. But people still show up for you. So it's important that you show up for them. And that's where that trust comes in. And that's where I think leadership by example really plays out. And that's when you get the ROI, not just on the thing you're building, but on the individual themselves. So
Yeah,
empathy for me was just really key to every decision that I made when it came to my employees, my motivations for them, and getting them motivated. And then that's how we really delivered results
I
because
love that.
you
It's
knew the
a,
person.
it's
Yeah.
interesting. I've been having quite the conversations of late around hard and soft skills. And everything you're talking
Yes.
about here is soft skill. But I really just don't even love the term hard and soft, right? Like it just feels so like pulled apart and hard or soft. Like it's like it doesn't kind of flow for me. It doesn't interconnect. And in the world we're
Hmm.
in and we're, the new paradigm we're in, we need to weave them in. It's like that female male energy flow, right? Like how do you pull them
Yes.
in together in terms of,
Right.
and I want to understand how you got into the elder care space, like what was your pivot or what was your
Yeah.
shift. But have you always been someone that has been empathetic, or was it that when you had your, forms of adversity that really made you go, oh, if I'm feeling this way, like was it your own lived experiences that really then dialed up your empathetic nature, or is it something that you've always had ingrained in you?
I think it's a little bit of both. So I think it was always ingrained in me. And I think I had a fabulous example in my mother of how to show empathy and, just watching her live through some adverse situations and seeing how she treated other people. So I had a fabulous, fabulous role model. But I think, because empathy by definition is having gone through a shared experience with someone, like, so you've lived it. So you can't really have empathy towards a situation unless you've lived something
Yeah.
similar. But you can be an empathetic person and really kind of channel other people's feelings a little bit. And so that is definitely something I connected to people and their feelings very early on. That was just, I think that's part of the innate nature. But then how do you don't even know that. Like when you're 5, 6, 7, you don't know that you're just taking on other people's feelings and feeling sad when they're sad. I can remember watching, all those what we now say like the Hallmark Channel break, all those sappy movies at Christmas
Yeah.
and watching even like Charlie Brown and crying because I felt so bad for something that happened in a show, even though there's, happy moments coming. I was definitely the kid who cried at the Hallmark card commercial on TV. So
Oh, how
always.
cute.
Um,
You know, it's
yeah, but
it's.
I do think,
I'm sorry, you go.
no, I was gonna say, I do think it's like it's learned as well. But when you have it it just grows, right? You just then can really put some arms around it and give some names to what all of that empathy feels like.
Yeah. Do you know what's going to sound really random? You just said you've got a little 5-month-old puppy, and I was talking about my 2-year-old dog, but I
Yes.
still call him a puppy. But I don't know about you, but there's something that you learn through a little puppy in terms of because they can't communicate with you and they can't talk to you. They communicate, but they don't talk to you. Understanding their feelings
Yep.
and empathizing with when they're being naughty, or you know what I mean, like rather than yelling at them, like there's just this need to kind of to really understand and kind of go, well, what's actually happening here? Because when you get right into it, anyway, it was a bit of a random thought, but it does take me into
No.
your elder care space in terms of you're dealing with elderly people, and
Yes.
that requires and warrants so much empathy and so much understanding because as
Hmm.
people get older, there's lots of different health issues that come as well. You probably encounter the forms of dementia and lots of different things, and a real need
Right.
to really understand. So tell us a little bit about, so you were in fin services, obviously in tech.
This,
When did you
yeah,
decide
yeah.
that, okay, I'm ready to make a change after 30 years? What was it? And then how did you come into the elder care space?
Yeah. So I would say there's always like a pivot, like a catalyst moment, but it's never just one thing that happens. It's a series of events that happen over the course of one's life. And when I was in my 20s, my right after college, my brother was unfortunately had been in an accident that left him paralyzed, and then had a
I'm sorry.
subsequent accident, falling out of his wheelchair, getting a concussion, and he passed away within like a
Oh,
week of that happening. And that's a very traumatic thing when you're 23
yeah.
to watch a sibling who is like literally your Irish twin, you're a year apart, and you go through this and you watch your mom and your dad taking care of your brother. I'm the oldest. I'm trying to be there for my younger siblings as well so my mom can focus on my brother, and you just start to see what the caregiving journey is like for people and how to navigate that at a young age. And then as I got older, right around the time I was getting married, my mom was diagnosed with a glioblastoma, which is a brain tumor, very, very aggressive form. It's considered like a grade 4. It's a death sentence, no matter how you slice it. My mom survived 4 years with a tumor that takes most people within 9 to 12 months.
Wow.
So we were fortunate, but she spent a lot of time at my house going through her treatments because I live obviously in Boston. You have amazing cancer centers
Yeah.
here. So got to, take care of her there. So it was sort of another like, here's another caregiving journey. And then as I was going through everything with my business with financial services in the technology space, typical COVID hits. And all of a sudden we're working around the clock. It's crazy. The burnout was so real. And after 18 months of COVID, I saw my dad for the first time. He had been living in Florida. And when he came up to the Northeast to visit myself and my brothers, we're like, he doesn't look right, and he was walking kind of funny. My sister-in-law happens to be in the medical profession, and so he's got that Parkinson's shuffle.
Oh,
And that's when things started. And so one thing led to another, and it turned out that it was not Parkinson's that my dad had, but Parkinson's was a symptom of a larger disease. He had complex disease. It's called progressive supranuclear palsy, or PSP for short, and it's part of the frontal temporal dementia family. And it looks like Parkinson's, it feels like dementia, it's very fast, very aggressive. And so when my company was doing layoffs and some reorgs, I raised my hand and I said, you know what? I've been trying to take care of my dad from Massachusetts to Florida and work and raise 2 kids, a husband and a dog. And yes, I feel like I'm raising my husband too, but trying to do all of that and manage my dad's care along with my one of my brothers who's, had a lot of flexibility, and it was not working. So I said, hey, can I take a layoff if you do them? And they offered a layoff. So I took a voluntary layoff, moved my dad from Florida to Boston area near me, spent 13 months caring for him. He was in an assisted living community and then memory care, and then ultimately went into hospice and lived in a hospice house for the last like 3 weeks of his life. But it was the most intense journey going through this, learning so
yeah.
much and really being there for him, but understanding like I would never ever let my dad just flounder or be on his own or try and navigate this by himself, because he would never have done that for any of us. He was always there for us. So there was no guilt for me. This was all I wanted to do it, but it was really, really, really stressful. And I
Yeah.
can't understate the stress and the caregiver burnout that comes with all of that. But I don't have a moment of regret for that time that I got to spend with him and have that one-on-one quality. So that was sort of the catalyst. As I was saying, like there were things that sort of led up to it,
Yeah.
but it was once my dad went through this and I started to realize, spending time in his 55 and older community. And then my dad was 80 when he was going through all of this, but starting to really recognize what was happening with his friends and in particular, a lot of the women, because by the time you're 80, there's a pretty good chance you're going to be female versus male because
Mm.
women outlive men. And so many women are unprepared and they spent so much of their life depending on a spouse or someone else. And now they find themselves in these situations. And how do I care for myself? And that made me realize that my dad was lucky because he had 3 kids to help him. He had all his affairs in order. He was really prepared, but not everyone is. And I saw that firsthand. And so I thought there's got to be a better way than how things work today. And if I can help make this process better for other families and just be an ounce of sanity in an insane world, then I'm doing something good for the world.
Oh, I love it. Such a beautiful story. And what a journey to go through. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah,
fascinating, isn't it? That from adversity and from grief, there's such awakenings that happen. Like at the time you're in such the thick of the grief and you're kind of going, why is this happening? And I don't understand any of this. And there's confusion and there's all the different, stages of grief. And no doubt you've
right.
experienced every single one of them. But then isn't it profound and quite the awakening when you're like, this is why I'm here. And it's like almost like it's like
Right.
this light that comes on and you go, oh, this was always part of my journey. And I don't know about you, but I always find comfort in that in a way. It's
Yes.
weird, not weird, but it's just, yeah, the ability to find comfort in something that was so heartbreaking and such a horrible,
Hmm.
stressful time to then be
Right.
able to turn into
And I always
something.
felt like in my career, I always had this feeling like I need to be doing something different or better or bigger. Like I didn't know what the word was, but it was almost like a calling. Like I felt like I was
Yeah.
being called to do something else, but I couldn't find the something else. And I think some people find there's something else at 25. Some people find it at 35. For me, I didn't find it till I was 50, but that's okay. The point is I found it. So I think that's something, a lot of times we feel like we have to be on a schedule of when the thing we're supposed to do in life that gives us meaning or is our purpose is going to find us or we're going to find it. We work so hard sometimes to find things. This almost found me, but when it found me, I was so open to the idea that it just felt, oh my God, this is it. Like, this is the thing that I've been trying so hard searching for. And yet, when I stopped searching, it fell into my lap and I was open enough to recognize
Yeah.
it for what it was and say, I can do this and I can be really good at this. Because back to the start of our conversation, the empathy piece is every client I talk to, I'm like, I've been in your shoes. I've
Yeah.
walked the
Lived.
walk, I've done the journey and I can appreciate where you are. Your situation might be a little different than mine was, but I know what it feels like when you're on the other side of the table and someone's telling you your parent really needs to go into memory care and what that feeling is like and when you receive that message.
It's fascinating, isn't it? It's like it's so profound again. Like I'm using that word a little bit, but you talk around when you stop the searching because it's like this. We try and control everything. We want to hold on, and yeah, but when we
Yeah,
just let things trust the process and let things happen the way they're meant to,
correct.
it just it just flows. It just happens, right?
It
And
flows.
yeah, it
Exactly.
flows. And interesting, you called out, it happened to you when you're 50. I mean, again, there's huge amounts of stats around, becoming an entrepreneur and, or going into your own
Hmm.
business or finding, or, it coming to you at this point in time. And I think sometimes, I mean, I'm 48 and similar sort of thing in terms of very different story, but I'm only just coming into mine
Hmm.
now, and I'm like, oh, but I had to have all those different experiences. I had to have the burnout. I had to have the corporate
Correct.
crazy time, all of that, everything you've talked about to get to this point. And I don't think I could have come to it any sooner. And I don't think I would have been ready any sooner. And
Mhm.
yet I think sometimes the younger generation, they want things faster and sooner, but it's like it just doesn't happen that way. Like you have to have these different
Right.
experiences to be able to then get to the
Yeah.
point of, because then you've got all this wisdom, you've got all this lived experience, you have this
Yeah.
ability to, you've got this deep, deep, deep empathy to then, like you say, like you being, through the experience you've been through and then having your clients, they must just so value your advice, your experience, and your care
Hmm.
in because it is such a, I had an aunt and I believe this was many years ago. That was just it was such a foreign and such a crazy time. And I was just like, whoa, what is it? Like we
Hmm.
as a family, I still remember it. But yeah, it's a gift what you're doing. Tell us a little bit about so you tell us a little bit about the. I want to shift it up just a little bit. So you've got into like
Yeah.
you're in a franchise. You're a franchise
Hmm.
owner. What's that like in terms of? I haven't spoken to many people in terms of the franchise model, and especially when from a care perspective. Like when you decided, all right, this is it, and you said it fell into your lap. Did the actual franchise? Yeah, like how did it fall into your lap?
Yeah, almost like literally. So I was thinking about doing this. I'm like, well, how can I do this on my own? Because I was finding people were reaching out to me because I would post something on social media about the journey with my dad, and I'd have friends go, "Oh my gosh, what did you learn? What's your dementia experience? How are you managing through all of these different stages? What resources do you know?" And I thought, gosh, I could be doing this as a consultant. I could build a business around that. And I'm sitting at the same seat I'm in right now. I was sitting here one day and my phone rang and I'm like, oh, I'm so annoyed. I'm like, hello, like who's calling me now? And it was this woman and she's like, hi, my name is Liz. I'm a franchise coach and I'm just curious if you ever thought of franchising. And I was like, oh, I don't know. What do you got? And so I just entertained this conversation with her. And one of the businesses was the Senior Care Authority. And I thought, that's really interesting because their model is a lot of like what I have been mapping out and trying to put down on paper and, build a case study and a marketing plan and thinking about how I would do this. The benefit for me of the franchise was I'm coming from fintech, right? And financial services. And what do I know about healthcare? So,
Yeah,
how do I jump in with both feet to an industry that is not my background and gain credibility from day one?
yeah,
And for me, the franchise allowed me to do that because it was an industry switch. So that to me was the real value in the franchise model. It allows me to, I make all the decisions. I am it. I'm the marketer, I'm the business development, I'm the salesperson, I'm the closer, I'm the accountant, so I'm everything in my business. But what I liked about the franchise was that support model. So if I have an issue or I'm struggling or I'm not sure how to solve a particular business problem, I call up another owner
yeah. You
and
got
I
the
say, hey, how'd
community.
you do this?
Yeah.
I've got that community of people to rely on. So it's sort of what might have taken me 5 years to get off the ground because I would have had to do so much more learning, build the
Yeah.
systems, buy the accounting software, all of that. That infrastructure's there. So you're kind of stepping into a business that's already run through all the trial and error pieces of the how do you get started. And then it's more me learning the industry, the space, and building up my client base. So it was I think, a fast track way for me to get into the elder care space.
Very
It was
cool.
great. It's been
And it
great.
and it feels like the foundation. You got all the foundation. So with Senior Care Authority, what is it that you
Mhm.
exactly do? Forgive me for asking the question, but yeah, like what
Yeah.
exactly? Yeah.
Yeah. So there's two primary areas of business for us. The first one we call placement services. So what that is we work with families to find what we call the living solution for mom or dad. That might be assisted living. I don't know if that's a similar term in Australia, but we call them assisted living and memory care or independent living communities. So they're communities where you can live in an apartment-like setting, more like a dorm room is how
Yeah.
I would describe it, because you don't necessarily have a full kitchen and all the activities happen outside, but you get support. There are aides to help you with what we call activities of daily living, dressing, bathing, showering, whatever that need is. There's people in the community that are there to assist you day in and day out. So what we do with families is help them identify the best place, make sure it matches their budget, their interests, And then we handhold them through the process. We
Oh,
tour
cool.
them, we help them make the decision, we help them with the contract negotiation. So it's a really high touch concierge level service.
Oh, I love
So
it.
that's the first thing we do. Yeah, it's great. I love it too. I love it. Families really, really appreciate it, which is what makes it all worthwhile. And then the second thing we do is just consulting. So maybe someone's not ready to move to an assisted living or memory care, but they're just like, hey, how do I navigate the world of elder care or elder services? I don't even know what the resources are in my town or my city. I don't know how to figure out what's next for my parent. Or maybe it's a spouse saying, hey, I need help for my wife or my husband. We're staying at home. I don't know what to do. And so then we can just offer consulting on an hourly basis and give them some advice and go visit them and just check in on them, coordinate some different care options for them. And so that's the second part of our business of what we do.
Yeah. I've got a couple more questions for you and then I'll let you get back to your evening.
Sure.
You obviously have a lot of lived experience with your parents and also, your brother and, like that's emotional. That's a lot of emotional energy and takes a lot
Hmm.
out of you. And you seem like a real empath in terms of real caring and everything else. You're in this space. It's such a fragile space at times and, watching
Hmm.
your clients with their own parents. How do you make sure that you, as much as you're attached to the client, that you're protecting your own energy at times and not giving your all so that you're burning yourself out, for example. Quite often I'll
Yeah.
sometimes give too much and then you walk away and you're absolutely exhausted. Like from all your experience in your previous business in fin services, etc., what are you doing differently in this space, knowing though it's so close to your
Hmm.
heart? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's such a great question. And I think it's so much of that self-care. And I think I was always really good at doing my workouts, right? Going for a run or a walk or lifting weights, whatever my little workout mode was, riding a bike, just something to have a physical outlet. Because for me, having a physical outlet is how I relieve stress. And I have done that my whole career. And so that's something I made sure to carry through to this business because you're absolutely right. It's really easy to get sucked into the vortex of emotion and energy. And sometimes it can be negative energy. You
Yeah.
get, a family that's not maybe getting along and they're, brother against sister or what have you. And so it's really, you can get caught up in the emotions of it for sure. And so you have to learn how to form boundaries, which is, I think, something to your point earlier, right? If I was 25 starting out, I maybe wouldn't be as good at setting boundaries in a workplace as I was at, say, 50, where I've learned to say, I'm not available at 6 o'clock. That's my dinner time. Where
Yeah.
somebody else might be like, oh, you can call me anytime. I'm like, no, you can't, right? And I own that space. You can call me at 7:30 at night, but 6 to 7:30 is my family time. I draw the line, right? So those are skills that you learn
Yeah.
through experience and work and being able to say no, right? Saying no is saying yes to something else. And then recognizing and giving yourself the grace when you do go down the vortex of like, oh, I got too deep with that one,
Yeah.
backing up, go for a run, go for a walk, take the puppy out. Puppy will definitely cure a lot of burnout.
They always do. Yeah, I love that.
She's crazy.
Knowing grace. Yeah, that the ability to say no is such a big one. And then the ability to give yourself grace. We just don't do that enough in this crazy,
Right.
fast-moving world we're in. And I think we need to be able to do more of that. And then lastly, what would be one piece of advice you would, given we're in this aging population, like what would be one piece of advice you would give anyone, like you called out that 65 stat, like what would be the piece of
Yeah.
advice you would give them about, I guess aging and having the ability to still have the freedom and the autonomy, but to know that you have the ability to have that care and support around you.
Hmm.
Does that make sense what I'm asking? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the biggest thing I tell people is plan
yes, that's what I was
because
looking for.
yes, because if you don't plan, then you don't have control over what happens to you. And so many people are afraid to talk about what they want when they get sick, when they end up in the hospital, when they pass. They don't want to talk about what feels like a hard subject because it's a hard subject. But if you don't plan, you're giving away all your control over the decision-making process.
Mm,
And what we really want is just human beings, right? Is to be with other human beings, to be loved, and to be cared for in a way that makes us feel dignified.
yeah,
And when you give up that control, you don't want to give up the option of also having a dignified aging life. So
no,
you can be 65 and be as ill as someone as 85, but you can be really healthy at 85 too. But then something happens, a catastrophe, right? Someone falls, you get in an accident, you become ill, and suddenly you can't make decisions anymore. If you haven't written it down or told anybody or planned for that inevitable moment, then that loss of control can really spiral people. So plan, plan, plan. Be
yeah.
ready for the inevitable. It's coming. Don't avoid it. But if you plan for it, you can put it down, set it aside, and then just go live your life and enjoy it until you need it.
Yeah, and you can always adapt a plan, there's always that ability to adapt to plans.
Always.
And so, yeah. Mary, how do
Yeah.
we find out more about your franchise senior care authority and how do we find out more about you?
Yeah, so you can go to our website is www.seniorcareauthority.com. And then on the website, we are a national chain. So there are locations all across the United States, not quite international yet, but you can just pick a city, a location, and it will direct you to wherever you need to be in the United States. And then you can always reach me on my business number is 508-318-9245. So you can always call if you have questions as well.
Thank you. Mary, it's been a real honor to talk to you today, and I love everything that you're doing and your journey, and yeah, no doubt more continued success. And we need more people and not more women in business like you who have all this lived experience and they're putting that, they're doing what they're always been destined to do. So thank you for your time today, Mary, and wishing you a lovely evening and a lovely end to the year.
Thank you so much, Bea, and I really appreciate the opportunity to tell the story. And I hope it helps somebody to know that you're not alone on the journey. There's people here to help. And I hope you have a great New Year's and enjoy your
Yeah.
warm weather. I will retreat to my cold and start a fire and get my hat and mittens ready to go. So
Yeah, I've never had a white Christmas, so it's something that's on my list at some point in time. And you've probably never had a hot summer, so a hot Christmas. So, well, if you celebrate
no,
Christmas,
I
but
will
you
this
may
year
not.
though.
Hot summer, I shouldn't say.
Going on vacation. So
Yeah.
going on vacation somewhere warm for Christmas Day. So it'll be my first warm Christmas, but
Oh,
not
that'll be
because of where
nice.
I live, but because of where
Yeah,
I'm going.
that'll be
So
nice.
yeah.
Thank you, Mary. Have a wonderful evening, and yeah, take care. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, B. Take care.